Well, I've been sanding away with my 80 grit paper for probably about, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. On both sides, and I removed all of the lines from the planes. And I've been going over it with my calipers, and it's not bad. It's still tight in an odd place. It's not bad. Experienced Luther's tap it. Listen. Sounds like a piece of wood being hit by a finger. Now, the next thing we're going to do is do the sound hole in the rosette on the top. So, again, pick the side you want to be the outside, the good side of your guitar. Take your template, and we're going to redraw our outline that we had on before. Line it up to the seam. You've done a good job. It's going to be hard to find the seam. It's hard to find the seam. There we go. I guess I did a good job. Like so. And redraw the whole thing. I also like to draw the center line on. Now on this template I have marked the locations of all the things that go on the soundboard and the back for that matter, where all the braces go, where the sound hole is, and all that kind of stuff. So that it's easy to use when you get in these situations. To line that up with the sound line, and then I mark here where the center of the sound hole will go. Rosette design is very personal. You can design whatever kind of rosette you want. You can leave it out altogether if you want to. It's purely decorative. I have decided that I had some nicely grained wood here. This is actually cypress, which I have circles I've cut out, which I'm going to use on my rosette. And on either side of that, I'm going to border it with a white strip and a piece of walnut, thin piece of walnut, which I will put all around the inside of that and all around the outside of that. So you have to kind of decide how you're going to do your rosette and what dimensions things are going to be, so you know what size of holes to route out. Now, to route these holes, or channels I should say, I use my Dremel tool with the circle cutter attachment on it. Drilling a hole through the soundboard and putting a circle cutter in it and cutting circles. Now to do that, what we're going to do is you're going to run a channel that is at the most half the thickness of your top. Don't go any more than halfway through the top. Now if your rosette material you're going to use is less than that thick, then only route it as thick as the rosette material you're going to use. But don't go any more than halfway through the top, and then we'll sand it all off flush afterwards. The sound hole itself is going to be 4 inches, and you want a certain amount of gap from you want at least an eighth of an inch in from the 4 inches before you start doing the channel. So use all those kinds of dimensions to decide how you're going to lay out your rosette. The other thing I'll mention here before starting this is that in the Dremel tool I have mounted a down spiral straight bit. You can't get these from Dremel, and you won't find them at your hardware store. You have to mail order them from places in the States. But the purpose of the down spiral is that they push the tear out down into the cut rather than pull it up through the cut, so you get a very nice clean straight edge which you need for aligning these pieces to. Now I've drilled with a drill bit into the center where the center of the sound hole, using a drill bit that's exactly the same size as the pivot point on my Dremel base. And I've actually left the drill bit sitting in there because that's going to be anchored and form my pivot point for doing this Dremel work. I'm ready to start gluing up. I've got one of the little various pieces of trim I'm going to put in here. I've actually pre-bent some of them into a circular shape just to make it easier to put it in. I've bent them with a hot pipe, which we'll go into more detail when we get to the sides. But normally it's not required. And you're going to use not too much glue. You don't need a ton of glue in this operation. Just yellow glue. Glue just really has to hold things in there. It's not really structural at all. Just try and get it around and coating the walls of the channel as well. So, glue dried, and I've now taken and scraped and sanded this down till it's flush with the soundboard. A few things I should have mentioned earlier. When you're laying these strips, there's going to be an area up here where they don't line up perfectly. And they don't need to, because the fretboard actually comes in here and covers the entire joint area here, right up to the edge of the sound hole, or almost the edge of the sound hole. So don't worry too much about having some gaps up here in the pieces. Similarly, when you're doing your routing, always start it up here then at the fretboard end, because if you slip or if something goes wrong, that area gets covered by the fretboard afterwards. You don't have to worry about it. So now the only thing left to do is actually cut out the sound hole. And we can set our Dremel rotor here for the 4 inches and rotor the sound hole. And we're through. Just like so. So now the rosette's done, it's time to start putting the bracing on the back of the guitar. Now remember when we were going through materials, I had a chunk of Sitka spruce to use for bracing material. Now this isn't just any ordinary piece of Sitka, it's quarter sawn Sitka. And very straight grained, so the grain in this plank of wood runs is lined up and down and runs straight down the length of it. So we can get very strong straight braces out of this. Now what you do is you cut this up on your bandsaw and sand and get things down to the dimension you want for your braces. But through the magic of television, I have one here I baked earlier. I actually had an extra set of bracing I had cut up previously, which I'm going to end up using on this guitar, all the various pieces that we're going to use.